So I guess to just bring it home on that point, you're saying even let's say we get the audit and they say, yeah, the gold's there. You're saying, well, who cares? We still don't know the truth.
Well, I think it's good to know it's there, number one. I mean, I think that's important, of course, but we really don't know the ultimate truth. We don't know just because it's located in Fort Knox, Kentucky, that it's really, you know, property of the U.S. or property of the Federal Reserve. We don't know without somehow determining ownership, and you can't tell that just by seeing how much gold is piled in a vault. That doesn't tell you anything more than there's that much gold in a vault. It doesn't tell you the ownership. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of gold sitting in the COMEX. There's a lot of gold in London, but that's its location. It doesn't mean ownership. I mean, there's pallets in New York in the COMEX warehouses or vaults, and there's different names on them all the time because one bank like HSBC may sell some of their gold to JP Morgan, and the gold stays in place, and they take a tag off of this pile and they put it over there. That gold is now JP Morgan's gold. That's what really
What
happens.
happens when everyone wants it?
Well, that's when you have a gold run or a run on the bank. And that's what could be, I want to use the word could, not would, taking place right now. Now, I don't know for sure. I'm very conservative in my thinking because I don't want to mislead anyone, but there's a possibility that once this tariff thing scared people and they started seeing an arbitrage between London and New York, and they're shipping the gold over for tariff reasons initially, then what happened, in my studied view, is that some gold holders started to wake up and say, "Wait a minute, there's delays in the LBMA. How, there shouldn't be, or at least not that long. I'm going to get my gold back." So they never thought about repatriating their gold until they started to see these delays. And that's what happens in a bank run is that, your neighbor goes to the bank, gets their money out, and the neighbor on the other side of you goes and they can't. They say, "Hey, if you come back in a week to get your money." Wait a minute. You never thought about going to the bank to get your money out. But now you're starting to hear around, the talk of the town, like, I don't think the bank has all our money. Now everybody's at the bank asking for their money back. Well, just substitute the word gold for money in the gold realm. And again, it could be happening. I'm not saying that that's
Yeah.
actually taking place.
I've been speaking to a few sources to get to the bottom of, how big is this story of all the gold moving from London to New York? Is it really, something overblown or cause for concern? And, one thing that I was reflecting on is that some experts have discounted the fact like, yeah, okay, you have to wait for your gold, right? No big deal. But, maybe you have to wait a week or 2 weeks. You have to wait for other things in life. But my point is, well, you can't wait for your gold in times of crisis. You don't have a week. You might not
No,
have
I think,
24 hours,
yeah,
David.
yeah. Now, one more little small point that Ronan Manley from Bullion, I forget the name of their company, put out on Twitter this morning is that some of the gold that's in Fort Knox is coin melt. So when gold was confiscated, which it really was nationalized, but not the wordplay, when gold was brought in from U.S. citizens back into the Treasury, that was gold coin. That's 90% gold. So Ronan put out, yay, but the good delivery gold was taken out of Fort Knox in late 1967, early 1968, and flown on a U.S. Air Force C-130 to the Royal Air Force Mindenham and conveyed down to London and given out to the cartel of English and French banks. And then they closed down the London Gold Pool as they had heisted all the good delivery gold out of Fort Knox. That comes from him. I'm not saying it's true or false. I know for a fact that at the time, a lot of the gold in Fort Knox was coin melt, not 999 fine. And for a gold contract to be valid, it has to be 999 fine. In other words, it's just gold. It's not gold in another metal, which coins are. And there's a reason for that. It's to keep up the durability. Gold's pretty malleable, and it makes the coin life better to put other metals in with it. Krugerrand, for example, has a pretty good amount of copper in it. That's why if you've ever looked at a Krugerrand versus a gold maple, the maple just outperforms it appearance-wise because it's 24 karat gold, whereas the Krug is not. It's like I think 22 carat, don't quote me, but it's got copper in it, so it has a different color.
One more point on the COMEX, because there's data showing that since November of 2024, more than 12.5 million ounces of gold and 40 million ounces of silver have moved from London into the U.S. COMEX system. So, to your point, is this just a movement we're seeing to avoid tariffs, or something bigger, something part of a global monetary shift, David?
I don't think it's that big, but it could be. I think it's more than just the tariffs at this point, as I mentioned earlier. I think there's some parties out there that say, you know what, show me the gold. You know, like the Maguire movie, you know, show me the money, show me the gold. I've got it stored with you. I want it on my domain. You know, I want the location to match the ownership. Let's do that. You have it. You say you have it. I want it. Ship it over. Well, that's going to cost you. Yeah, well, I'm paying. I pay shipping costs. Yeah, well, it's an 8-week hold. 8 weeks? You mean it's going to take 2 months? Well, yeah, why? Well, they don't have a good explanation. Well, one of the explanations is some of the gold has to be refined into kilo bars or 100-ounce bars from 400-ounce bars. I'll buy into that slightly, but I think it could be more of a ruse than the actual facts. But I don't know. I'm trying to be fair here and you know, stay, you know, within the realm of what's true and what's false. We don't have all the information, but we do know that there are parties that are concerned, and this is something that hasn't happened. And what's really ironic, and maybe we want to visit this or not, is the retail market's dead practically, and yet the wholesale big boy market, commercial market, is on fire, which I've never seen before. I mean, I've seen them ebb and flow, but generally, when the gold market's hot, all parts of the gold market are hot, and the gold market's cold, all parts of the gold market are cold. But I've never seen where we've seen the institutional side so hot and the retail side so cold at the same time.
100%. 100% an accurate statement. And I've spoken with multiple bullion dealer owners who have informed me of this, David. Any take as to why?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about it a great deal. Sometimes I overthink things, as you know. You've known me for years. I think a lot of gold bugs are just burnt out, that they bought their gold and maybe they were buying it at 2000 at one time, a new high. I mean, it took a while to get penetrate through the 2000 USD mark, and it finally did. And now we're almost $1,000 higher. And people that bought before that are like, you know, I'm just tired. I'm going to either sell my gold or hold what I have, but I'm not interested in buying gold at 3,000. And then you just try to put yourself in, you know, the everyday person's life that really doesn't pay attention to the precious metals. And maybe they start to hear about on the news about, you know, this shift from London into New York, and they start to learn a little bit about gold.